Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're doing a different video. I saw everybody hating on the show Velma, I thought to myself, hey, I can hate things too. I'm very good at hating things. It's popular. I want views. I don't think I need to say anything else. So, episode 1, Velma. This is, I think, the only episode in the series. There is nothing I can say that is good about this episode. I thought that maybe, like, the reviews were out of proportion. It's not. Episode 1 is honestly terrible. It is so bad that there is not anything good I can say about it. Overall, it's just not particularly funny. One thing about Velma I find really weird is that it's an adult show, and that might sound weird, but like it's associated with the Scooby Doo series, and it feels a bit weird about that. And I saw reviews that mention that, and they say, oh, it's an adult show, but they mention that like it's a good thing. But being an adult show does not automatically make you good, and this isn't even an adult show in my opinion. It swears a lot, and it has a lot of nudity. In fact, episode 1 has an uncomfortable amount of nudity. There's so much of it, and the thing is that it's not entertaining to even see because they're teenagers. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't. Surprising as it may seem, I don't actually want to see that. It's uncomfortable to watch. Honestly, like, it is mainly the thing that makes it the worst. But overall, it's still unfunny. The show doesn't even look that good. The animation is decent at best and terrible at worst. Honestly, this is a bit hard to describe, but everything just looks kind of bland and flat. Nothing really stands out in terms of the environment. The characters' designs are incredibly basic. Honestly, it's just not good. It's just not good. But personally, back to the adult show, because I feel like the people are going to mention, like, sure, you can't put children in front of this, but in my opinion, a good adult show tackles adult themes and adult problems. This show doesn't do that, though. This could be a kid's show and it would lose nothing. You know? It wouldn't really matter at the end of the day. Um, there's not much to say. I guess another thing I could say is that the dialogue is terrible. They don't talk like real people. They don't act like real people. As stated earlier, there's nothing good I could say about it. Like, it's one of the only pieces of media I've ever seen where I genuinely cannot think of anything good to say. There is nothing I like about the first episode of the series, which is a really bad starting point. Because it's the first episode. You have to have something good. You have to have a hook. And this just doesn't. Alright. We're going to move on to episode 2. So in episode 2, this was the point in the series where I realized that there's a pretty big problem. And it was that no character is likable. I mean, Norville is kind of close. If you don't know, Norville is just Shaggy. I don't know why they changed it, but they did. But Norville's just Shaggy. He comes close. He's still not particularly likable. He's not funny, because his only jokes are going after Velma and weed jokes that aren't. He's not funny, he's not relatable, but he comes close. He comes close. Also, in this episode, they try to make Daphne and Velma a ship, but they don't actually know how to do it, so they just make them like each other. It's stupid. I don't even know what to say. Like, honestly, they have, like, no chemistry. I mean, Velma constantly talks about how bad Daphne is now. Oh, I don't like her anymore, and Daphne doesn't seem to like Velma. But but then out of nowhere they do, and at the end of the episode, Velma's having hallucinations. That's a subplot thing where she tries to solve mysteries, she gets hallucinations. I know you don't care, but I thought I'd give you context anyways. But at the end of the episode, she's having a hallucination, and Velma kisses her to get out of it. It's obvious that it was going to happen. It doesn't really feel earned. It leaves no satisfaction to anyone. The final joke was slightly amusing, though. It was decent. It was decent. That is the most I could say about it. It is the only good thing I can say about the episodes. It's better than episode 1, but remember, that is an incredibly low bar because that had nothing good about it. This had one joke. You are improving. On to the next episode. We have episode 3, Velma Kai. I gotta say, this episode is the best, but that doesn't mean much. It's still not funny. It still looks bad. It still isn't. It's still pretty much the same as all the episodes. Although this did have a saving grace, and that is that Velma got kicked in the face twice, and that was incredibly entertaining to watch. It was so fun to see. Another thing about this episode is that they're trying to add depth to all the characters at this point. It doesn't work though. It only very slightly works with Daphne, but not really because they just do it the same way every time, and it's pretty much formulaic with Velma just going, "Oh, you do this because of this," and then Daphne just says, "Oh no, you don't know the actual reason," and then gives another reason, and that's just it. They do the same thing every time. I mean, it's still the best episode, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's still terrible. There's still so many things I would rather watch, but it's not a 0 out of 10. It's not 0. There are things that I can enjoy. So, episode 4, Velma makes a list. This was probably the hardest episode to watch. Episode 1 sucked, but episode 4 was hard to watch because I could almost feel improvement with the show. Because, like, episode 1 was terrible. It had 0 things that were good about it. And then episode 2 had a joke. And then episode 3 had, like, moments where it was decent. And it was almost like an evolution, where it was, like, very slowly, it was starting to get better. But episode 4 just went back to normal. They make a love triangle. In this episode, they have a thing where Fred reads a feminist book, and then the joke is that he doesn't objectify women anymore, and then he likes Velma. There was no build up to it. It just kind of happened. It didn't need to happen. There's no reason for it to happen. I guess they just wanted to create inherent conflict, but I mean, it's pointless at the end of the day, really. Another thing is that in this episode, one of the big points of this episode is the objectification of women, and how you shouldn't do that. But then it also goes the other way in saying that you shouldn't restrict women. It has a weird, complicated moral that kind of contradicts itself. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they're constantly talking about the objectification of women and how they're sexualized and everything. And, like, they would have a point. However, I do have a bit of a problem with this because in, like, the first episode, Velma sees Fred's dad and says, and I'm quoting the show here, "Dilf City." Like, just way to completely ruin your entire point. Like, seriously? Really? Anyways, episode 4 was where I had an amazing revelation as I was watching it. I realized the show would be so much better if you just made one change. You make Daphne the main character instead of Velma. If you did that, I swear to God, the show would be so much better. Honestly, Fred would actually be a more entertaining kid. Let's be honest. Like any other character would be so much more entertaining to watch than Velma. It's just a fact. But like Velma has an actually interesting subplot though with her birth parents, and I wanted to see that. It was it was amazing because it was like the first time where I was actually invested in the show. I actually wanted to see what happened next. But it was a subplot, and then the main plot came back, and it sucked. I mean, if Daphne was the main character, you'd have a more interesting plot. You wouldn't have as much stupid meta commentary. The show wouldn't feel insulting to watch. It probably wouldn't be as uncomfortable. Pretty much everything would be better about it, honestly. Um, I mean, yeah, other than that, there's nothing more I can say other than it's the same as every other episode. It's not really funny. Doesn't look good. It's just not very fun to watch. So let's get to my overall opinion. My overall opinion, is it a 0 out of 10? Is there nothing I like about the show? I feel like I don't stand with the majority of the reviewers and the people that I have seen talk about the show, because I always see it and they're like, oh, 0 out of 10, there's nothing good. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a terrible show. It's a waste of time, honestly. But I do see positive things about it. There are like moments where it's actually an okay show. Not a good show, not a good show, but a decent show. A watchable show. Let's just get it's a watchable show for like very occasional portions. But unfortunately, 99% of the time, it doesn't look good, it isn't funny, and there's nothing to get invested in, and it's overall just very uncomfortable to watch, and overall the show doesn't make sense. I was thinking that I would write down all the contradictions, but that video would probably be 40 minutes long because there are honestly so many to go over. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, one good character being Daphne, and a couple of jokes don't really excuse the show being overall terrible. As of right now, there are only 4 episodes I can watch, so you might be saying, well, the show might get better in the future. And it might. I highly doubt that it will, but it might. Here's to hoping that things get better. They probably won't, though. Velma's going to be the main character, and that's honestly enough to just make the show bad. We all know it's not going to get better, though. We all know it's probably going to be like Birds of Prey, where the person who made the show is just going to start blaming people and saying they don't understand it and that it's not for them and all this other bullshit. I have nothing more to say, honestly. There wasn't much to say. Um, yeah, there's 4 episodes. They're all practically the same anyway, so if I'm being perfectly honest, this entire video was just to capitalize on the trend going on right now, so. Yeah, you can hate me for it or not, but at the end of the day, yeah. I don't have anything else to say, so you have a good day now, and don't watch the show.